Hi, so today I'm going to be talking about using reference, either physical or digital. Hi, my name is Luis Escobar. I'm a storyboard artist on the Simpsons television show. I've been working on the show for over 25 years now, and I'm here to empower you. Okay, so today I'm going to be talking about using reference, either digital or physical. And by that, I do not necessarily mean, but I will include it, using like photographs and things like that. So if I'm going to be talking about using photographs, sometimes I use them, especially when I'm extremely lazy, which is a lot actually. Usually when I do a postcard of some sort, what I tend to do is I like to find a nice photo. I tend to usually flop the photo, and then I use it as a bouncing off point, by which I mean I don't necessarily want to get the likeness of the person. I don't necessarily want to capture everything in the photo. What I tend to want to do is I tend to look at the gist of it, but the thing that I really want to focus on when I'm using a photo is the lighting. That's really the biggest thing that I tend to use photos for is the lighting. The lighting, it just makes it that much easier. I sometimes change the color of stuff. I sometimes change the clothes. I change the style. I change the way the person's face looks. But what I don't tend to change is the lighting, because I think the lighting is just easier, just to hurry up and just I skip a step, because to me the lighting is the trickiest part. So if I find something that I like the way it's lit, then that's how I tend to go along with that. So, but really what I want to really focus on is when you're not going to use straight for verbatim something that's already in a photograph. It's a photo of some sort. I mean, I eventually take a photo of something, but here's what I mean. So the question was asked of me. This video is created because I was asked a question about using props like this for a reference for whatever reason. So this particular prop that I've got here is one of a head, and if you look very closely, you could see that it is it's just muscles, right? This is just a sculpture of a skinless head, so you could see the muscles in it. So how would I use this? Well, I would use it whenever, if ever, I'm going to paint something and I'm curious about getting the right muscle structures. What I would do is I would find a good position and for this, and then I would light it using this extremely bright light that I've got here that's kind of blowing out this little figure here. And then I would light it, and then I would take a photo. And then that would be my reference, so that I could know, again, this is about the lighting, right? The thing that I tend to use models for the most is for lighting purposes. That also goes with and things like this. So I've got these figures here. I got male and female figures, and all right. So these guys. So these are handy. Sometimes I use them for poses, but not very often. What I tend to use these figures for the most, again, is lighting. I find a good position for these characters, so that these figures, so that they are lit well, and then I take a photo, and then I have them lit. So that's what I would use these kinds of figures for, these models for. Here's another something that I've got. I've got a skull here. Oh, it's blown out. The light's blowing it out. So it's a little skull. It's great. I could open the jaw. And for this is whenever I actually need a drawing of a skull, to look at an actual skull. It's great to have, to physically move it around. And again, if I wanted to, I could light it and take a photo, and then I just have a good reference for a skull. All right, so that's not the only thing that I use for reference for any kind of painting. Usually, and it's when I'm these things are for lighting purposes, for things that I've got in my head that I'm planning something. I've already done a thumbnail. I've roughed it out. I know what I kind of want, and then I go and light something so that it just to give me a little bit more of an edge, give me a little something to go off of if I need it. It's a no-brainer. You don't have to overthink it because you're doing the reference for yourself. Also, that isn't to say that I don't also go to the bathroom in front of the mirror and pose something out just to make it simpler. Just pose out an arm or a leg, or if I'm holding something, and then I take a picture of it, and then that also is helpful. If I need to light something, I do that. I ask my wife to pose for me sometimes in order to, like, especially if like somebody's wearing a jacket or there's special kinds of pants and textures. If I'm drawing something that is definitely representational, kind of realistic, that's when I use the most amount of reference, is when I'm trying to do something much more realistic, because if I'm just inventing it, sometimes it's just limited, and I'm not. It shows. It shows when you're just inventing stuff. Sometimes that you really don't know what that thing really looks like, especially textures like leather and you know, things like that. Like, okay, but here's another thing that I use, just to help me out on things, and that is when I rough out a pose and I'm ready to go, but I still just kind of want to check myself and check it and make sure that everything is working, or when I'm actually just in the mood to play and I'm not in the mood to like be sketching, or if I'm looking for if I'm trying to think of a pose and I can't, so I go online and I find somebody in the pose that I like, but it's in the wrong angle. Like they're staring straight, but I wanted it to be a little bit more turned, right? I like that pose, but I want it to be a little bit more turned, and I just want an easy way to. I could try to invent it again myself and redraw it and resketch it and stuff like that, but sometimes I just get so lazy. So what I like to do is I like to take that photo or that idea, and then I go into this. I have a program called Design Doll, and then I have in this program here, what it does is it allows me to pose a person out, and this is kind of like it's essentially this. It's essentially this, but you can pose the figure and turn it. And the advantage with this is that it feels it's a little bit more organic than an actual like physical doll. Also, the benefit of this particular program, and it takes getting used to, because as you can see, it's a little clunky, but the best thing about the thing that I really like about this program is that you could really push a pose a lot. Like you could really stretch and yank and pull and exaggerate, and here and you could even for example change the head. Oops, that's not the head, that's the hand. Yeah, so you can change the head so that you can get different types of heads, and make it like, if you don't want the anime look, you can very quickly get rid of that anime looking head, and make it a little bit more realistic ish. The proportions are a little bit more real. So you could do that, and you can change the body types. Um, so if you want it to be much more male, and give it muscles, you could give it muscles. But this takes a long time. It's better to like prep the character beforehand. But like I said, but it does have it's very versatile. You can really push poses here quite a bit. So I tend to pose the character out here. I know I try to avoid it because it does take forever. But once you have it, you can save it. You can move the camera around. You can go, okay, over here, over here. I kind of want it over, and the only thing that I don't like is that the lighting is terrible. I mean, you can change the lighting, but it's actually really quite awful. Like this lighting thing, I can't figure out how to light it really well. The lighting here is just terrible. If I'm going to really try to light it something like this well, I would export this doll into like a 3D mesh, and then I would go into Blender, and then I would import it into Blender, and then I would light it there because the lighting would probably work way better. Okay, and then so that's one tool that I use. Another tool that I use is on my phone, and it's called the Handy app, and what the Handy app does is it has a couple of different things. It's got hands, obviously, so it's called Handy, and you could bring a hand in, and you can move the fingers and play around with this. And I don't know why right now it's not letting me do anything. You could zoom in the camera, zoom it out. You can flop the hand here, cancel, discard scene. Okay, but you could change the skin color. Here's a few poses. Here's another hand. I do want to move the camera around. There we go. I think the camera is not rotating. I want to rotate the camera. I hardly see the problem right now is that I hardly ever use this. Oh, here we go. So you can move the hand around. You can move the camera. You could pose it out like this. But I never use this because I have these things called hands, and I just take a picture of my hand. I mean, that's not really what I use this for. What I actually use it for is for this. So I have these heads. And the best thing that I mean, we have this skull, which is great, and then we have these planar heads. So this is brilliant. I love this. And the best thing about this is that you can light it. The lighting is just amazing. It's just so good. You could turn off lights. There's 3 lights here. You could change the color of the lights. You could change the how far the lights are from the figure. You could edit all these things. I've actually set a few lights already. You could edit the color of the light. You could change the things. You could take the cast shadows off if you want. Each one of these gets changed. You can move the lights. I mean, it's great. Like I don't want to overdo this here. Let me just okay. And then there's another planar head, female planar. Yeah, this one. Oh man, I love these. This is so good. And then when you light them, they look so good. So these are really this is really handy. Just for lighting again. It's the same with these figures. It's the exact same thing with these figures, only it's just better. I just like it. It's just easier, and it's handy to have around. And I've even, here's my saved scenes. I've already done a few. Here's one that I did. I was doing a Batman drawing, and so this is the way I wanted him lit, and that's it. So so most of the time, that's what I tend to use for using reference when I'm drawing, and why I use it and how I use it. Mostly, it's for lazy reasons. When I do comics, I also tend to pose stuff out using the like design doll and things like that. Mostly drawing my hands and things like that, but it's for lazy reasons, really. It speeds up the process if I don't have to struggle having to solve the drawing problems very often. Sometimes I could just really, whenever I could just really crank it out, I don't need the reference. I could just do it. Sometimes I get lazy, especially, but really what I use reference for the most. This is what I've been saying over and over in this video, is that when I use any kind of reference, whether it be a figure like this, whether it be a head like this, whether it's something that I'm going to use on the Handy app, whether it's going to be on Design Doll, the biggest reason that I tend to use any kind of prop at all to for reference is for lighting purposes. That's the reason. It's just because I want the lighting to work well. If I take a photo of, say, my wife or whatever, it's often because I want to be able to see how the light works on certain types of clothes. So it's almost always 100% light driven. That's the reason why I tend to take reference of any kind, is mostly for lighting reasons. That is the reason why I tend to use photos when I do the postcards, is just for the lighting. It helps so much. It speeds up the process. I don't have to try to figure it out. Lighting can be tricky if you are inventing it. It could fall short. So it's always the best. It's a really good idea to just have real live lighting. No brainer. It saves you all the trouble trying to figure it out. It also makes it that much prettier, and it just makes it easier. But that's really the reason. It's just lighting reasons. Okay, so that's how I tend to use digital props or digital reference and physical props or physical reference for. That's the way I use them, mostly for lighting. All right, so I hope this has been helpful. And I will talk to you next time. All right, bye.